and welcome back to Grassroots Shakespeare London's live performances here in London all day from dusk till dawn with our friends at GoPro, Twitter and Periscope. Now, you may well wonder what is going on here. You're about to find out. One of Shakespeare's most classic, most famous, most adored plays was written somewhere between 1591 and 1595. It's first published in 1597. Any guesses what it is? You're definitely going to know. Next up, we have got our co-artistic director of Grassroots Shakespeare, Boris Mitkov, performing as Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet.
Ah, then I see Queen Mab hath been with you. She is the fairy's midwife, and she comes in shape no bigger than an agate stone on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn with a team of little atomy, athwart men's noses as they lie asleep. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut, made by the joiner squirrel or old grub. Time out of mind the fairy's coachmakers, her wagon spokes, made of long spinner's legs, the cover of the wings of grasshoppers, her traces of the smallest spider web, her collars of the moonshine's watery beams, her whip, crack, of cricket's bone, the lash of film, her wagner, a small grey-coated gnat, not half so big as a round little worm pricked from the lazy finger of a maid. And in this state she gallops, night by night through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love. Oh, a courtier's knees, who dream on curtsies straight. Oh, a lawyer's fingers, who straight dream on fees. Oh, a lady's lips, who straight on kisses dream. Which oft the angry Mab with blisters plays, because their breaths with sweetmeats tainted are. Sometime she gallops over a courtier's nose, then dreams he of smelling out a suit. And sometime comes she with a tithe pig's tail, tickling a parson's nose as he lies asleep. Then dreams he of another benefice. Sometimes she driveth o'er a soldier's neck. Then dreams he of cutting foreign throats, of breeches, ambuscados, and Spanish blades, of healths 5 fathom deep. And then anon, drums in his ear, at which he starts and wakes, and being thus frighted swears a prayer or two, and sleeps again. This is that very Mab that plats the manes of horses in the night, and bakes the elf-locks in foul, sluttish hairs, which once untangled, much misfortune bodes. This is the hag, when maids lie on their backs, that presses them, and learns them first to bear, making them women of good carriage. This is she.
Thank you so much, Boris. We've got some serious camera gadgetry here. You were telling me what it's called. What is it called?
It's a gorilla pod. It's a gorilla pod.
It's incredible. That is how we're managing to film today with this incredible GoPro and a gorilla pod, which I didn't even know what that was until a few minutes ago. So, Boris, why don't you tell us a bit about this speech? I thought it was quite amazing that you were talking about lawyers, considering we're in one of the most famous places in the world for lawyers here in Temple.
Yeah.
Tell us about the speech. Where does it come into play, and what is it about?
So this speech comes, it's sort of fairly near the beginning of the play. It's
it's sort of Romeo's still stuck up on his first kind of love interest. He hasn't actually met Juliet yet. They're on their way to the Capulet Ball where that event is about to take place. And Romeo is still very much kind of playing the sort of the moody teenager or the lover, and he's trying to sort of dissuade the gang, the boys, from going to the party, and Mercutio's having none of it. He's he wants him there, and yeah, in terms of what I think it's about, I think it sort of really encapsulates Mercutio for me. He's both the life of the party. He's also a little bit older, so maybe he's been through that bit more than the rest of the gang. He knows that there are darker places where things can go. It isn't something that he sort of accesses willingly, but it's there in his character, and it's a nice foreshadowing for the rest of the play, to have that sort of slightly darker part. He's got the license to comment on the politics and the people of the time, given that Mercutio's status in the play is that of the prince's cousin, so he's blood relative, and that affords him a kind of a unique perspective within the show, within the play.
Fantastic. So today is Shakespeare 400. It's been celebrated all over the world, and we are celebrating it on Periscope in particular. Why don't you talk to us a bit about what Shakespeare means to you?
I mean, Shakespeare's been such a huge part of acting and performing for me. It was sort of one of the first shows that I did, way back when I was sort of 15, 16, and I had the opportunity to play all the small roles in Romeo and Juliet and watch other actors saying all the hard lines. And it's such a great learning experience for me. And since then, my love for the text, my appreciation for the words, the language, the stories, the storytelling that's employed has just grown. So yeah, and it's sort of been the main body of work that I've done kind of since graduating from drama school, and obviously being co-artistic director of Grassroots Shakespeare London as well, which has only further increased my passion.
Why don't you just mention a bit for people who are viewing live on Periscope right now about what does Grassroots Shakespeare do that's maybe different to other companies?
So we are an original practices company. That can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but for us it's about trying to capture, in essence, what the way Shakespeare's actors would have worked with his plays, with the text. That means that we work without a director. It's an ensemble-led process. Directors are a relatively recent concept in theatre, and those actors wouldn't have worked in that way. They would have just got together, very little rehearsal time, cue scripts, meaning that they didn't know what the rest of the text of the play was, and that's something that we've tried to incorporate into our rehearsal process. We do use the full text. They do know the rest of the lines. But there is a huge benefit to getting 10 or 12 people together and using all of that creativity, not trying to put an overarching concept onto a performance, but really honing it down to the characters, the relationships, the storytelling, the logic of the piece, and it brings a lot of joy to the process, I think.
Yeah. That's lovely. Thank you so much, Boris.
My pleasure.
So we will be back with you next at 11 a.m. GMT. We have been broadcasting live since 6 a.m. So if you feel like watching a bit more Shakespeare in the meantime, please go onto our Periscope channel and watch back on some of the fantastic actors we've had this morning. We've got a lot more coming up for you, and we can't wait to join you again.
What happened?